Shelley, I'm telling you, it's too many times.
That the meticulous Stanley Kubrick had made her do 127 takes.
The woman from The Shining, the one screaming with a bat, breaking down on camera, she wasn't acting. She was actually breaking. And the man behind the camera, Stanley Kubrick, planned it. Hollywood watched it happen. That role made Shelley Duvall unforgettable. But what no one tells you is what it did to her. Mentally, emotionally, and physically. How an industry that once praised her for being unique would turn its back when she needed help the most. In the 1980s, Shelley Duvall was unmistakable. Wide eyes, a soft voice, and a presence that lingered long after the scene ended. She wasn't like the others, and that's exactly why people loved her. But then, almost without warning, she vanished. No public breakdown, no final press tour, just silence. Behind that silence is a darker truth, one that reveals what Hollywood does to people it no longer needs. Shelley never set out to be famous. She was a college student in Texas, studying fashion design when director Robert Altman discovered her by chance. He saw something in her, a rare kind of presence, and cast her in Brewster McCloud in 1970. She wasn't trained, but her energy was real, and that rawness made her stand out. Soon she became a regular in Altman's films, always playing offbeat roles with heart. She didn't look like a Hollywood star, but that's exactly what made her so magnetic. She was different, and for a while, different was in. Then came The Shining. Most people remember Jack Nicholson's unhinged performance, but Shelley carried the weight of that film. Her character, Wendy Torrance, wasn't just scared, she was unraveling. And that wasn't just acting. Behind the scenes, director Stanley Kubrick was pushing Shelley past the point of exhaustion. He reportedly isolated her from the crew, reshot scenes over 100 times, and berated her to the point that her hair began falling out. One scene, her swinging a bat while crying, took 127 takes. Her eyes were constantly red, her nerves shot. She later described it as the hardest role of her life, not because of the performance, but because of the treatment she endured. And when the film came out, critics dismissed her, called her performance over the top, mocked her expressions. The public didn't understand that what they were seeing was real, emotional breakdown, captured on film. After The Shining, Shelley continued to act, but something had changed. She turned to lighter projects, including creating and hosting a charming children's show called Fairy Tale Theater. On screen, it was colorful and magical, but behind the scenes, she was retreating more and more from Hollywood. By the early 2000s, she had all but disappeared. No red carpets, no interviews, just a name remembered by fans of cult classics and horror buffs. Then, in 2016, Shelley Duvall resurfaced, and what the world saw shocked everyone. When Shelley Duvall reappeared in 2016, it wasn't in a comeback role. It wasn't on a red carpet or a classic film tribute. It was in an interview on Dr. Phil, and what people saw left them stunned. She looked drastically different, disheveled, frail, and clearly struggling with her mental health. The segment quickly turned from curiosity to discomfort. Shelley made erratic claims, including saying that her former co-star Robin Williams was still alive and that people were hurting her. It wasn't acting, it was real, and it was painful to watch. The audience didn't see a Hollywood legend. They saw a vulnerable woman being paraded across television screens like a spectacle. And the backlash was immediate. Critics, fans, and even other celebrities spoke out against Dr. Phil for airing the segment. Many accused the show of exploiting a woman in crisis for ratings. Actress Mia Farrow tweeted, "Shelley Duvall is unwell and should be getting help, not being used as a sideshow." Vivian Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick's daughter, called it appallingly cruel. And then once again, Shelley disappeared. She retreated to her small home in Texas, far from the cameras, far from the spotlight, far from the industry that left her behind. Neighbors described her as reclusive but kind. She lived quietly, surrounded by nature and the silence of a life once filled with flashing lights. But that wasn't the end of her story. In 2023, after nearly 2 decades away from acting, Shelley Duvall returned. She appeared in a small indie horror film called The Forest Hills. She wasn't playing a glamorous star or a final girl. She played a mother, older, weathered, and real. Her voice was softer now, her presence more fragile, but she was still Shelley. And this time, the world didn't mock her. There was something touching about seeing her again. Like watching a forgotten painting get restored. The internet lit up with support. Film fans celebrated her return. Interviews were careful, respectful. People were finally listening, not because she was a curiosity, but because they realized what she had survived. Shelley Duvall didn't fade because she failed. She faded because Hollywood isn't made for people like her. Sensitive, different, unwilling to conform. It lifted her up, used her best years, and then discarded her quietly. And yet, she's still here.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall.
Not as the screaming woman in the hallway, not as a quirky side character, but as a survivor of something few people ever escape from, being forgotten by the machine that made you. This isn't just a Hollywood tragedy, it's a warning. Fame doesn't always kill you. Sometimes it just lets you disappear. And this is too real to ignore.